Well, this sounds incredibly exciting. Guys, Eurogamer just dropped some insanely exciting developments for Marvel's Spider-Man 2, and if you had any doubt about how ambitious Insomniac is with this title, you are about to be blown away. So let's kick things off first and foremost with the confirmation about character switching. Brian Intihar, who is the creative director of the game, went ahead and did an interview with Eurogamer, and during this interview, he said the following about switching from Miles into Peter Parker and vice versa. When you're playing the main story, we control when you switch between Pete and Miles. It's done in service to the story when we're making those switches for sure. So, as you saw in that gameplay reveal, referring to the PlayStation Showcase reveal, of course, which is a segment of the main story, we are predetermining those based on what we want to do for how the story plays out. Confirming that yes, during the main campaign, you will be prompted to switch from Pete and Miles, vice versa, and you won't have quite as much liberty about choosing which one you want to play as. However, here's the exciting part. We do have content designed around Peter, and we have content designed around Miles. And we have content where you can play either in your own choosing, which is insane. You'll be able to, in the open world, freely switch between them with a simple button press. This is thanks to the power of the PlayStation 5. This already sounds incredibly exciting. A similar technology was kind of on display in Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart, where you could go on ahead and teleport from universe to universe. So this, I'm assuming, is kind of a similar application, allowing you to traverse from Miles to Pete. But the more exciting thing to me is that he confirms in this little interview that there will be exclusive content for each one of the Spideys. That means that there will be content that will be applicable to Miles. So for example, maybe missions that involve the Prowler, maybe missions that involve things that are more specific to Miles himself, versus on the flip side of that, we also have content that is specific for Pete as well. I think that is such an exciting development because that means there's going to be a ton to do as both Miles Morales and Peter Parker with exclusive experiences for both. But that's not all. He went on to expand, saying, being able to switch in the open world so quickly between the two characters is really awesome. Just being able to pick and choose who I want to play as for a certain activity, it's been so awesome to have that feature. It's something that we probably wouldn't have explored previously, which makes sense because it would have just been impossible to do without the PlayStation 5 SSD powering up this feature. Brian also went on to clarify about the mechanics around the skill trees, which is something that I've already covered before in a previous video. So for those of you that are following the channel, this will be a bit of a repeat for you guys because we've already discovered this courtesy of the PlayStation blog entries. But Brian does confirm, saying, we want to make sure that when you do switch between the heroes, there's a sense of familiarity. They're both Spider-Man. You know how to play the game, but you still have the flexibility and customization for upgrading each of them with their own skill tree. Further saying, we saw in the gameplay reveal where Miles has evolved Venom powers, whereas Peter has the symbiote abilities. And so those changes a bit of how you play. You can upgrade those in their respective trees as well. And he clarifies to Eurogamer that there is one shared skill tree, which is exactly what I had pointed out in my full breakdown video, where essentially the gadgets between the Spideys will be shared, but their unique abilities, in Miles' case, that would be the Venom Shock abilities, and in Pete's case, it is going to be the symbiote abilities, will make them unique to one another. It really does make you think as to what will happen to the symbiote abilities and powers once Pete is no longer symbioted. It's going to be interesting to see whether or not there's some sort of a replacement of abilities that will happen there. Possibly maybe the giant tentacle arms that he had, like the Iron Spider arms from the very first trailer, will be the replacement that they go with. But of course, that's just speculation on my part as far as the Iron Spider legs replacing the symbiote side of things. And I love that Brian addresses the criticisms about whether or not this is an actual quote-unquote sequel or a $70 DLC, as some people like to say. He said the following: when we're delivering a sequel, we're looking to improve all elements, whether it's traversal, combat, mission design. So obviously those are some of the criticisms that people have had. So there you go. He's already addressed that there will be new stuff for traversal, there will be new stuff for combat, and there will be new stuff for the way that the missions are actually designed. Further elaborating, saying, I think the gameplay reveal is a good example of how we want to elevate it. It's a big blockbuster moment. We have Peter starting out in Queens, quickly switching to Miles in the city, then wingsuiting and slingshotting over to Harlem, switching the back and forth along the East River. I think it's just about upping everything we possibly can and taking advantage of the hardware. Things like moving at speeds that we weren't moving at before and having all these different tricks. Oh, but you didn't think that's all I had for you, did you? Because Brian also did an interview with Famitsu Magazine, which is the big giant Japanese publication, where he said the following about the map size. We've added Queens and Brooklyn this time, so roughly speaking, the map size is about 2 times larger than the previous titles. That is astounding. That means the people who are worried that, hey, it's just going to be Manhattan again, it's going to get old, it's going to get boring, worry not. Not only are you getting to play as 2 different Spideys, but in addition to that, you now get to travel to Queens and Brooklyn, where there will be even more to do, making the map about twice as large as the previous releases. He also said, since these 2 areas are somewhat smaller and residential, which I actually don't mind because I feel like it's going to give it such a unique and different aesthetic, where Manhattan is very bustling with giant high-rise buildings everywhere. And on the flip side of that, Queens and Brooklyn is going to be a lot more shallow and a lot more like lower buildings and houses, but I think it's going to give it a more unique vibe. In fact, it seems like that's exactly what Brian says as well, as he says that I think you'll find them different from Manhattan. We've prepared some unexpected situations we haven't done before, like a battle in the river between 2 of the cities. So I hope you look forward to them. That sounds astounding. So to me, it really sounds like a lot of the developments that we're going to be seeing in this game is stuff that us as gamers maybe sometimes don't really appreciate, in terms of the main thing that I think gamers think about when they look at a sequel is, hey, does it look better? You know? And I think that that's really kind of inherently beaten into us just because of how previous console generations have gone. But it really seems like this gen, before the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox Series X, is going to be more so focused about some of these features that were just impossible to do. Whether it be the incredible detail that they can now present on the textures for the buildings, whether it be being able to teleport instantaneously from character to character and not having to go into a loading menu and selecting a character and waiting for it to load up so that you can switch into that character, and kind of taking you out of the experience. As well as just the sheer speed with which we're going to be able to traverse New York, which is something that was showcased quite well, in my opinion, in that gameplay showcase from the PlayStation Showcase itself. So let me know what you guys think. Are you getting pumped up now that we're getting more and more confirmations for the game, more and more information of just the sheer scale of this project and how ambitious they're going with it? Because I genuinely think that maybe that gameplay reveal did not communicate some of these elements as much as many other gamers would have liked. Now that they're fully coming out and literally saying these things, obviously it is starting to get much more exciting when it comes to Marvel's Spider-Man 2. Thanks all for watching today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, please don't forget to hit the thumbs up button. And if you want to watch a crazy theory about an Easter egg that I think most of us did not spot, if it even is an Easter egg, check out the video I uploaded earlier today for that theory.